The first seminar is on why junior boarding. All right. So we're very delighted to have the admission director of one of the top junior boarding schools, the Bement school, to be with us today to explain to us why junior boarding. Why should we consider sending our child to a junior boarding school before we send them to a senior boarding school? So there's a strong reason, and I would like to defer that to Ms. Kim to talk about that. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. I'm grateful to be here today, and I appreciate you taking time from the busy fair to come in and hear a little bit about junior boarding today. I am going to spend some time talking about what a junior boarding school is and why they are an important opportunity and step for families to consider as they look at education in the United States. And I'm going to talk for a few moments, about 10-15 minutes, and then there'll be time for questions at the end as well. So I know I was first asked, what is a junior boarding school by some of the families already today. And junior boarding schools are schools that are focused primarily on younger students that all schools go through grade 9. So for schools that are in the room next door. Many of the schools are high schools, but junior boarding schools are often considered middle schools. And there are a very special set of schools. There are actually only 10 junior boarding schools in the United States. And this slide will share with you the different schools that are junior boarding schools. Some of our schools are kindergarten through 9th grade, like the Bement school. And some of the schools may be grades 6 through 9, like the Cardigan Mountain School, which is also here today in the other room. Junior boarding schools, of the 10 of our schools, many of them are co-educational, boys and girls at our school. But there are several schools that are just all boys. Some have the younger grades, and all of us have our middle school. And all of our schools end in grade 9, and our students graduate from our programs, and go on to secondary schools and high school programs. What sets junior boarding schools apart from other schools is that in the middle school age, this great age 10, 11, 12, there is so much happening in that age group that we have experts at dealing with students at just that age. So we are focused on helping those students grow and develop in an age and developmentally appropriate way at our school communities. So sometimes families will say, I was thinking about secondary school. We were thinking about applying to high school. Why should we think about junior boarding school, and why should we think about coming to maybe the U.S. a little bit earlier? Instead of applying for just 9th grade, why should we think about maybe applying for grade 6 or grade 7 in a U.S. school? And why families look at junior boarding is for one major reason, and it is to really help prepare them to become a better candidate and a stronger student or a stronger applicant to the secondary schools. Our communities are small. We get to know our students really well, and are there opportunities for students to really grow, to gain and foster a strong sense of independence, to provide them with many, many opportunities, which I'll speak a little bit more about in a moment, but really to help them be as best prepared for secondary school as they can be. I would say that our students, once they graduate from our junior boarding schools, they're ready to jump in. They're ready to get to the secondary schools and just flourish. We have found that at the secondary school level, they look for our students. They are very excited to see students from junior boarding schools apply to their schools. And the reason that is because our schools understand the strength and the preparation that the students have and are excited that they will be able to welcome students into their school communities who are confident, are used to the boarding school environment, are ready to be full participants at their schools. And so it is an opportunity for a student to grow up a little bit, to develop some new interests. So when they get to that secondary school, they jump right in and are fully involved in a school community. So as you think about how to prepare for this, and many families may have even, and some of you are starting this process and thinking about independent school and boarding school in the United States, maybe some other countries. Families are sometimes surprised and think, how should we best prepare? How should we think about getting ready to come and study in the United States? And one of the ways to best prepare often is through a junior boarding school experience. It's never too early to start thinking about independent school. And some of you are maybe thinking, I spoke with a few students already, and I said, are you thinking about next year? Are you thinking about a couple of years away? And both situations are great. This is a wonderful forum for you today, for the students and for families to learn about many schools and different programs. So this is what I call the information gathering and the research phase for you to learn about the many different schools that are out there, because all of the schools in that room next door are wonderful programs. It's now just your turn to find which is the right school for you. I often ask families, I say, are you ready for boarding school? And is your child ready for boarding school? And it requires both of you in this. It is okay, I'll mention this again for the students in this room, to be super excited about boarding school. And it's also very okay to be super nervous and unsure about it. That is okay to feel both of those things happening at the same time. But by doing some research and by coming and talking to the different schools that are here today, all of us are going to share information with you. We're going to welcome your emails and contacts and invite you to come to our campuses if you can travel there, to spend more time and learn about us, to help you to decide, are we ready to make this move? And for many families, they think, if we want to go to a strong competitive high school, being ready might mean starting a little bit earlier and coming in grade 6 or grade 7. Or in some cases at Bement, we actually start boarding in grade 4. But most of our students, particularly our international students, come to us in grade 5 or grade 6 or grade 7. And I know some students have been exposed already to opportunities to be away from mom and dad. They have had chances to go to a summer camp, or they've had chances to compete in a swimming competition, or to go to a camp for a sport or an art. And those are wonderful mini opportunities. And I'll speak a little bit more about that's a great step if you're not sure yet about the boarding school full year program. So part of the preparation and readiness piece is the academic, first and foremost. Our students at our schools, they work very hard. The academic preparation and expectation for students at that secondary school level is one of independence and is one of self-advocacy. That is a skill, those are skills that students gain while they're in a junior boarding school. We have strong academics, but we also have a bit of a safety net to help students. Maybe it's improving their English language skills. Maybe it is improving their study habits. Maybe it is improving their time management skills. Those are all concrete skill sets that students need to have going into secondary school. And a junior boarding school environment is one that supports that and it really encourages and helps students to gain those skills. I say this to every student I meet. I ask, do you like to read? And some say, yes, I love to read. And some go, not so much. I will say, read, 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 read. That is one of the best things that you can be doing right now with your children and encouraging them to read. And it can be a variety of things. They can read the Dork Diaries and graphic novels, and you can read realistic fiction, and you can read biographies, and you can read books on topics that you love. That's okay. Read lots of different things in English because that is going to be something that is going to prepare you well for secondary school, but it's also something that we value at the junior boarding school level and encourage students to read a lot. So it helps them to be prepared for that level of academic expectation. One place where I encourage families to not worry too much about is to take accelerated classes. Families will ask and say, should we take an advanced math class? Should we go to summer school and take an advanced science class? Should we do these extra academic classes on top of their learning that they're doing right now? And I really encourage families to take that time, that energy to focus on the activities and the interests that students have. At our schools and at secondary schools, we have academic programs that are going to completely challenge students, help them stay inspired and engaged in their lessons and their learning. But secondary schools want students to be able to do the academic program that they have. If a student arrives at 9th grade ready for calculus BC, the secondary school goes, what are we going to do with this student? We don't have a math program for them. So it is not about rushing too far ahead in the courses. It's talking about the depth. And that's something, again, at the junior boarding school level, we want to make sure that students have the depth within math, within science, within the arts, to make sure that as they go on to the high school and secondary school level, that they are in line with the academic program, whether it is an IB program, whether it is a school with advanced and honors classes, whether it is for students who are still strengthening their English skills, making sure that they are best prepared from an academic perspective. Extracurriculars. One of the best things about junior boarding schools and secondary boarding schools is the fact that at our schools, everything happens on our campuses. So for students and for families, I know sometimes you're spending lots of time, I apologize, I'm standing in your way, that there is needs to travel to go do lessons and to school is in one place and they're traveling maybe an hour to go to school and maybe traveling in another direction for music lessons and in another direction for their sports activities. That can be very challenging for a family, especially if you have more than one child. But in our school settings, the opportunities to participate in these things are all on one campus. In a junior boarding school level, we model that for our students so that we want to make sure that all of our students have that opportunity to participate, because many students might not have had that opportunity just yet because it's a little bit more complicated to participate. It may be a little bit more challenging for students to if they're not maybe the top, to participate in some of these activities. at our schools, we want students to get introduced and try new things, to if you've always wanted to play a new sport, if you've always wanted to play an instrument, these are the activities that we require and are part of our students' experience. So again, when they apply to secondary school, they have a wealth of experiences and a wealth of opportunities to sort of call upon to join and describe about their participation in our schools. I really encourage, though, that as families, you engage your children into activities that they love to do. Because if we see that the child has a list of all of these different things that they participate in, we will want to ask and find out, what do you really love? And match your students' interest with the different activities and find the schools that then feed that opportunity for your child to grow in those areas and discover some new things, but not just to build a resume of activities that a student that you think might be attractive for a school to see. A question that our schools will ask students is, how do you use your free time? And we know students are very busy and may have lessons or may have homework and may have extra homework to do after school. But we're very curious about, how does this child use unstructured free time? What do you do when your homework is done? What do you do when you don't have a lesson? And we want to hear about that, and we want students to think about different things that they might do that are not schoolwork, that are not practicing an instrument, but maybe it's playing games or creating something, reading, maybe it's playing with a younger sibling, taking care of a pet, volunteering in their community, whatever it might be. We want to have students talk about what they do in sort of a free time that's unstructured. That's very important at the secondary school level. So when, again, we model that in our junior boarding schools of providing very structured time for our students, so to help with their time management skills, but also allowing them time to have free time, to have to really plan and think of, or not so much plan, but think about, what do I do when I have some free time? Because we know that that's a hard thing to come by in daily life. If you are not quite ready for junior boarding school or not quite ready for secondary school, a boarding summer program is a wonderful first step. To come to the United States and to spend 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks during our summer months, it gives you a great taste of what boarding school life is like. Our students live in the dormitories. They will spend, usually programs will be a combination of academic and summer fun. Some are just focused on sports. Some are just focused on academics. Some are just focused on summertime fun. There's a variety of programs. About 8 of the 10 junior boarding schools have numerous different programs. And so this is a great first step. If you're feeling, I'm not sure I'm ready to go away from home or to have my child go away from home for a year yet, this is a great way to test it out. I will share probably 99% of the time students go to that summer camp, and we have in our office during the summertime numerous families who will come in and say, now we want to talk about this fall, and we're so excited now for boarding. So that experience can be a real helpful tool to become more excited and more comfortable as a family about the idea about boarding school. It gives a little taste of this. So what do we look for in our applicants? As I mentioned, it's okay to be a little bit reluctant. There's a mixture of both being excited and nervous. We know that students will be homesick, and we, again, are experts at helping the students get through that process of being away from home for that first time. It is also expected that your children might be having an absolute wonderful time, and you are child sick, that you are missing your children. And we work with you in that way too, to help you to know that your children are well cared for and are having a wonderful time, and that reassure you that you are giving your children a wonderful gift and a wonderful opportunity to come and study at boarding school. Sometimes I have had families ask me about, we're so excited about boarding school, but my child is young and we think we're going to move to the United States with them to help them in junior boarding school or even secondary school. And I would caution families, I would say, if you feel that they're not quite ready so that you need to relocate to the United States, maybe they're not ready, and maybe you're not ready yet. And that's okay. Everyone's ready at a different time. But to get the full benefits of a boarding program, allow your child to have that opportunity to travel and to live in a boarding school community. We have seen sometimes families relocate to the area and the students are torn. Mom and dad are nearby, or maybe just mom, or maybe just dad, and they feel like, I want to go spend the weekend with them, or you want them to come spend the weekend with you. But yet that means that they're not spending the weekend in the dormitory. They're not connecting with the other students. They're not spending time with their classmates and their sports teammates in that time. And so they're missing out on that opportunity. So I tell families that's one way to think about, are you ready for that opportunity for boarding school? We look for the students who are meaningfully engaged in activities, and that's what I was mentioning. It's not 10 different activities. It might only be one, something that's really important to them, because we want to see their interest in that and hear about that interest. They are young. They haven't necessarily had a chance to do a lot of different activities, and that's okay. That's what we're for. We're going to introduce students to many different activities. Every student plays a sport every season at Bement. Every student is in the band or the orchestra, even if you've never played an instrument before and you get to or sing. Everyone is on stage performing in a play. Everyone is involved in community service. These are things that are not extra. They are part of the daily experience of all of our students in all of our junior boarding schools. We also look for students who like school. That's a big part of this. And we know sometimes in the last few years, in particular, school has been very difficult with COVID, with relocating different places, moving schools. And sometimes school isn't always the best place for students. And that is sometimes a great reason to be looking at schools. You have wonderful schools here in Singapore. And it's trying to think about, is this the right time to make a move or not? Every student, it is what is best for the student and best for the family to help make that decision. Often it's because I can do these things, but I'm not getting this. And that might, this that a child is not getting may be the reason why you want to come and study in the U.S. I want to tell you a little bit specifically about my school, and then encourage you to ask me any questions about junior boarding school or Bement in general. There are 4 of us that are here today. Myself from the Bement School, Fay School is here, Cardigan Mountain School, and the Rectory School. So I encourage you, if you haven't stopped by our tables, please do so. But at the Bement School, we are coeducational, so boys and girls attend our school, and we're kindergarten through 9th grade. Our boarding school students don't start until technically third grade, but the best year to come to Bement is grade 6. Sometimes grade 7 is also a great year, but grade 6 and sort of 5, 6, and 7 are sort of that best time frame. We have 45 boarding students. That is a very small number. And that is by design. At this age group, of these younger children, we want to provide a strong support, supervision, and opportunity for our students to really feel like they are part of a family. Our boarding students live in dorms of only 10 students per dorm, and they have, the boys only have 1 roommate, the girls sometimes have 2 roommates. We have students that come to us from 16 different countries in 9 states, and about 12% of our students are international students. Our school is located in Massachusetts on the east coast of the United States. We're about 3-hour drive from New York City. 2-hour drive from Boston, Massachusetts. And Bement is known for its strong academic preparation, but most importantly, I think beyond that, is the sense of community at Bement. I'm not going to put him on the spot, but we have a family in the room right now who came and visited our school this fall. And we spoke about the importance of what a community is like. At Bement, because of our small size, every child is known, every child matters, every child is encouraged to grow in a way that you would your own child. Our students are quite involved within our immediate community, our local community, as well as the global community in terms of our community service activities. At Bement, it is something that we call the gives back. And it's an important part for us to teach and instill in young people that as one person, make a difference in their immediate community and in the larger community. Who you are as a person is very, very important at Bement. And that culture of kindness, that culture of respect, that culture of compassion is woven through everything that we do at our school. Each season, we have 5 or 6 sport options. We are located across the street from Deerfield Academy. Some of you may have heard of that school in Deerfield, Massachusetts. We are very fortunate. We use their athletic facilities, swimming pools, squash courts, basketball courts as well. And as I mentioned, why families are really looking at junior boarding is to help them be the best prepared to allow for more options at the secondary school level when it comes time to apply. We have a dedicated person at our school to help you with that then process of applying to the secondary schools. So we work very closely with the students and with the parents to make sure that our students are ready and moving on for their secondary school visits. And in fact, sometimes parents aren't able to travel to the U.S. to help students go on their secondary school visits. We drive them. We'll take them for their interviews and bring them onto campus so they can see that. In the most recent years, students from China and Hong Kong, you will see that Singapore is not up there because I am here in hopes to have some students from Singapore at Bement. So we don't have any graduates from Singapore recently, but you can see a number of the schools where our students have attended recently. Many of the schools are in the next room as well. Questions that you might have for me about Bement, but certainly about junior boarding. I'm happy to take any kinds of questions that you may have. I know I just shared a lot of information very quickly. Yes?
So when they're going to junior boarding school, they're not, full-fledged teenagers yet. The parents still play like a very integral role, having these conversations with the kids, or helping them choose their activities. How do you integrate those conversations with the parent being out of the country?
Yeah, that's a great question. If you didn't hear it, it's how is in junior boarding at the time where students are still receiving lots of parental guidance and making decisions, whether it's choices about activities that they're doing, or I think even friendships students. And you're in it. Many of you are right in middle school. It's hard right now. And it is, it's just part of our day. I mean, our dorm parents who live with our students are parents of children. They are there helping them get ready for bed at night, reminding them to brush their teeth, tucking them in, reading a story at night. We have younger children. Secondary school, that's not going to happen. They are on their own. So at our level, really to sort of guide them in a way from sometimes the very simplest of daily tasks, but are monumental at this age as they gain those skills. Every child at Bement has an advisor in addition to their dormitory parent who oversees them. And that advisor is a person that they check in with every day and is a person who would be in communication with you about any questions or concerns that you have. And then we bring parents in that conversation. So if we're having conversations about if there's an academic concern, or if there is a friendship question, or if there's a activity and they're really interested in ski racing and you're a little nervous about that, we're going to want to involve you in those conversations. And maybe that is through the advisor, it might be through the dorm parent, maybe it's Zooming or FaceTiming everyone together so that we can have those conversations together. Same with when we have parent conferences, we have them in person and we have them over Zoom as well. We want to make sure you feel connected every day. Every week you get a newsletter about what's happening. You get a letter from the head of the department to know what's going on. We want you to feel involved in the school, even the many miles away that you are. Yeah. Really good question. So the question was, how many students leave a junior boarding school at 8th grade instead of staying for 9th and graduating from the school, but go off at 9th grade, which is the traditional start of high school in the United States? Great question. Every year, we will have probably about 13 students who might go on to a secondary school after 8th grade and not stay to graduate. The majority of our students stay and graduate from 9th grade. So it's individual and case by case. We'll make recommendations if we feel a student is ready to move on after 8th grade. But the 9th grade is such an awesome year at Bement, and it's so much fun, and it's also a great leadership opportunity. It's a true academic 9th grade program for our students. So our students, when they graduate from Bement, will often go right into 10th grade. All of the secondary schools accept students in 10th grade. They're used to getting kids coming to them after a junior boarding school program. Sometimes a student might be on the younger side and might graduate from Bement in 9th grade and do a second 9th grade year. An athlete in the US, we call it redshirting. They might take an extra year because it gives them an extra year of athletic exposure. It's a case by case, each student is different. We might have time for one more. Nope, we don't.
I think we might be a little over time already.
Okay.
So, should we give a round of applause to the students?